Hey guys, it's Yorker here with a bit of an update as to what's happened over the last couple of months with the channel, and also a little bit of a discussion as to what's actually happening with the Project Cars 2 situation. I know a lot of people have many questions and a number of concerns about it. Hopefully the discussion that I'll have a little bit later in the video will put your mind at ease about that. But the footage in the background is just some footage that I recorded in a practice session for a race in TGC, just using it there as something to watch basically. So let's get straight in with what's happened over the last month and a half or so. The channel itself has been a little bit quiet in terms of myself responding to comments and questions. I like to try and keep up with people's posts and try and respond to them as quickly as possible. However, it has been a little bit slow over the last month and a half, and it's been the same with uploads as well. Usually I like to try and get 2 uploads a week. However, that hasn't really happened. It's been kind of as and when I can get a video out, rather than one midweek and one on the weekend. So those uploads have been a little bit sporadic, but that's mainly been down to the fact that at the start of the month and a half period I went away for a week with friends to Centre Parks, was then back for about half a week, and then went away to Monaco for the Grand Prix weekend. It was an absolutely amazing weekend, probably one of the best weekends I've ever had in my life. I do aim to do at least one video on it, possibly 2. The first one is obviously going to be of all the racing videos that I took, and then the second is kind of more drunken antics and general Monaco sort of stuff, which I may do for you guys afterwards, possibly. I'm not too sure. I'm not quite fully decided on that, but yeah. Since then, kind of just general life things with seeing girlfriends, seeing friends, family, that sort of thing, just trying to keep up with them, also enjoying some of the nicer weather that we've had. And then last week I got hit with a flu viral sort of thing. I'm not entirely sure what it was. I have seen a doctor yesterday, in fact. He said it could possibly be glandular fever, but last week I was basically in bed for 5 days straight with up and down temperature. Felt like absolute crap. And then this week I kind of got over the worst of that. However, I still feel very tired, with little energy, and just little things can knock me back quite easily. So motivation at the moment is fairly low, but hopefully once this has passed and I do start to feel better, I aim to get the videos back on track, as I have a fairly big backlog of videos that I need to do, and I have a number of others that are being asked for quite often and I am planning on doing anyway. So yeah, I will be getting back on it once I am back to better health basically. But that is that, and we're now going to talk about the Project Cars 2 situation. I've seen on Twitter and various other places a lot of people seem to be pretty concerned about what's going on with Project Cars 2 and also Project Cars 1. But hopefully what I have to say will put some people at ease, calm some people down, and answer a few questions that some people may have. So let's get into it. And I'm going to start off by saying they're not dropping the development of Project Cars 1 purely because they've announced Project Cars 2. Project Cars 1 has about 2 years worth of development planned for it, with obviously continual bug fixes until they get the game ironed out, and obviously DLC, track DLC, car DLC. We've got the free cars coming every month, although I'm not entirely sure where June's car is. Hopefully we shall see that soon. And obviously we've got the livery updates as well. And we also have just some general game features and content that they had originally planned to do but didn't have the time to put it in, and hopefully some further refinement to a number of the features that are already in the game. 2 years of development is still planned for Project Cars 1. They still have a number of people who are going to be working on that project, and obviously trying to get all the bugs fixed, because that is probably one of their main priorities at the moment. It's to try and get Project Cars 1 running as best as it possibly can for the vast majority, if not all, the people who are currently playing the game. However, not everyone in the studio can QA, bug fix, or create further DLC. Their area of expertise just doesn't cover those areas, and it's those kind of people who would have been shifted onto the start and the concept and the early game design of Project Cars 2. So why have they announced it now? One of them is transparency reasons. It's something that's fairly normal within the games industry. Obviously, a lot of us fans ask for as much transparency as possible. Most game developers will probably start working on their next title, their sequel, at various different stages within the game development. Some have been working on it for quite a substantial time during the development of the previous game. Some don't start until the game is basically finished and is ready for public release. Some don't start until afterwards. But most of the time, game developers keep that sort of stuff fairly quiet. They keep it to themselves. They don't make it known to the public, even though we like to hear that kind of thing, because obviously people like to know what studios are planning, what they're doing, and all that sort of stuff. And Ian Bell has said on the official forums that originally they planned on starting work on Project Cars 2 basically once Project Cars 1 was released. However, obviously due to the number of bugs that appeared and popped up on consoles, they made the decision to delay the start of Project Cars 2 until they got at least patch 1.4 out. Now that the patch is out on all platforms, they're going to start, or they have started, developing Project Cars 2. Hopefully a lot of you already knew that. For those who didn't, there is the information for you. Project Cars 1 is not being dropped. So the next concern that people have had is, why are they going down the crowdfunding route again? Project Cars 1 sold over 1 million copies, so they've made obviously quite a substantial amount of money, and it will continue to do so. Obviously we've just had the Steam Summer Sale. There will probably be more sales in the future where the game will sell a little bit more. Obviously those who have been waiting for the game to be a little bit more ironed out and just play it safe, pick up the game a month or two after release, are going to be doing that as well, and obviously profits and money will be continually coming in via that route. But obviously they need to pay off the expenses from the first project. The delays that the game actually had were actually very, very expensive for the studio, and it actually came to a point where people working at the studio were taking money out of their own pocket to invest into the game to make sure that they get enough time to get the game finished and in a somewhat stable condition ready for release. Obviously money is going to go back into them and obviously cover all the licensing costs and all that sort of thing, and also obviously be invested into Project Cars 2 and developing the engine and the game further. So why not just take the money from the profit that they made off of Project Cars 1 and just use that to develop Project Cars 2? Why have they gone for the actual crowdfunding method once again? Well, game design is stupidly expensive, we know that anyway. Tens of millions is spent on developing games, even hundreds of millions on really big AAA titles. Project Cars 1 had an extremely small budget when compared to other game developers and other racing titles. And what they were able to do with that smaller budget is pretty impressive when you compare it to the tens of millions that get invested into those other racing titles. And obviously every little bit helps. The more money they have, the more money they can invest into Project Cars 2 to improve it further and provide more scope for the design of the project and where it can possibly go. So it all sounds very money grubby at the moment, but it's not just that, there's more to it. Project Cars 1 was obviously crowdfunded. They had the WMD portal. If you invested into the project, you had a very unique opportunity where you were able to see the game develop, what areas they were working on, and see the general progress of cars, tracks, physics, audio, characters, all that sort of stuff, and also have a voice and a little bit of a say as to the direction of the game. You were able to post on the forum with feedback saying X and Y is great, however Z needs changing because of reason 1, 2, 3, and this will benefit the game in this sense. And if people agreed with you, the devs would consider that and obviously hopefully try and find a way of designing and implementing that into the game. That's how Project Cars came about. We had a lot of discussions on there as to the direction of the game, and eventually what popped out the other side and is now public is what we as a community working alongside Slightly Mad Studios have created. But obviously with that comes a number of risks. You need to try and get as many like-minded people in there as possible. which is why they have gone again with the crowdfunding route. Obviously they want to use the same method that they used for Project Cars 1 because it works so well, yet they need to filter out those who want to potentially damage the project. Someone who didn't really enjoy the first game isn't going to go and invest £50 in the second game to then go on the WMD forums and talk trash and talk shit about the game and how it's a load of bollocks, all this blah blah blah, because you're going to get very swiftly going to get yourself kicked, you're going to get yourself banned, you're not going to get a refund, you're not going to be part of the development, and that's just 50 quid wasted. The WMD portal isn't like any other normal online public forum. It's treated very, very differently. It's almost like an online office, essentially, which is used by the devs. They post up and show their work so people can see the development that is going on a day-by-day basis and have an input, a say, and provide good, coherent feedback. That's the whole idea of it. They treat it like a working office environment where they respect each other, obviously understand and listen to other people's opinions, and then obviously voice your own, providing you're not being abusive or hateful and disrespectful to anyone else on there. So it is being used as a filtering system. All this doesn't mean that the Project Cars official forums, the public ones, are going to be ignored, that anyone posting really good suggestions and ideas on there aren't going to have their voices heard. Obviously the devs are going to hang around and stay on that as well to see what else can be implemented into Project Cars 1 if it is feasible. If not, potentially it could be used in Project Cars 2. So I know it may sound very almost drastic when compared to how other developers develop their games, but the model that Slightly Mad Studios used for the development of the first game was very unique, very drastic, very different to how games are usually made. Having so many people on a forum with a voice and opinion and a way of directing and steering the direction of the game, it requires something different and unique, and it needs to work in a different way, and this is the way Slightly Mad Studios are doing it. It worked for the first game. Why would you fix something that isn't broken? Yes, it had flaws. There were things that weren't quite right about the first one, but Slightly Mad Studios are trying to learn from those and are trying to prevent those mistakes from happening again. So hopefully that's eased and answered those concerns that people have had. I know a number of people are probably worried about the lifespan and longevity of both projects, and are probably worried that Project Cars 2 will be coming out, say, next year or the year after. Considering the amount of time that Project Cars 1 was in development for, that's very highly unlikely. Project Cars 1 used the engine from the Shift 1 and Shift 2 games, and obviously built upon those quite heavily. Physics was a lot more advanced, obviously slightly updated sound, graphics, new graphical features, and other general features and improvements to the engine itself. Project Cars 1 spent 4 years in development before the game was released. Obviously Project Cars 2 has a much better and more advanced base to work from than Project Cars 1 did, but already the stuff that they want to do for Project Cars 2 is looking like it's going to take again another 2-3 years to develop. The ideas that they have for Project Cars 2 is quite significantly different to what they had on Project Cars 1, so they're not going to be, it's not just going to be a rehash, a remake of the same game with just a couple more features and stuff that could have easily been put in an update or DLC. Project Cars 1 is all about track racing. It's about racing on tarmac and concrete roads. Now Project Cars 2 is obviously going to have some of that, but it's also looking to do loose surface racing with rallycross. We're looking at hill climb, toge racing, further development of the physics, the tyre model, weather systems and weather effects and that sort of stuff. Things that aren't really feasible to be implemented into the engine that we currently have with Project Cars 1, and therefore requires years worth of development to then be released in Project Cars 2. So I can't see Project Cars 2 being released within the next year. I can't see it being released within the next 2 years. So we're probably looking beyond 2 years up to probably about another 4 years. So I'll be very surprised if we see it within the next 2.5 years, but in the meantime the developers will be working on both games. I have backed Project Cars 2, I have bought into it. As soon as we start getting builds that we can show to the public in videos, I'll be doing obviously some videos on those and showing you guys the development that's happening over there. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be abandoning Project Cars 1. I'm going to continue to play it. I've been playing it for the last 3 years. I've been enjoying it. I'm going to carry on playing it. Obviously, playing with the Gentleman's Club has been absolutely fantastic. I'm going to continue doing those, continue bringing the videos that we do from those sessions. I do plan on covering patches and DLC. Unfortunately, due to the last couple of weeks or so, covering patch 1.4 has obviously been very difficult, so I'll probably miss out a video on that. I will be doing a video though on the Racing Icons pack. Hopefully I'll be doing a video on that fairly soon once I get obviously my strength back up, and obviously I'll be providing any gameplay, good gameplay that I get from the game. I have considered doing a career mode. It's something that is a potential for the future. I'm just hoping that they kind of iron out a few further personal issues that I have with the game before I really start getting into that and seeing whether it's feasible for the channel. And when the Gentleman's Club starts doing league races, hopefully I'll be doing full coverage of that as well and be showing you those sessions too. So plenty of stuff still to come in the future. I've got a number of different videos planned already, hopefully for the next couple of weeks. And on top of this, I'm not going to be abandoning the other games as well. Obviously I want to get my hands back into Assetto Corsa at some point. Obviously the DLC will probably spark another fire with that, and obviously I'll do some coverage on that as well. I need to actually cover the other DLC cars that were released in the last Dream Pack DLC, I believe it was called. Also in the Steam sale I bought a GT3 expansion for Race Room Racing Experience, so I'll probably be looking into that, giving that a go, doing a video or two on that and giving thoughts, that sort of stuff. Also I've got a couple of videos of Dirt Rally coming in the future as well. I've already got a couple recorded, just need to start editing those basically once I get my strength back up, as doing this video has been a little bit difficult. It's taken quite a while to actually do the voice recording for this. But if you have any further comments or questions about the topics that were discussed in this video, or if there is something that I haven't answered that is a concern of yours, feel free to leave it down in the comments section below. I'll try and get back to you on that. If it's just hate and just spewing shit towards SMS or myself or other members of the community, I won't be taking the time to reply to those. So do please, whatever you have to say, please try and make it respectful as possible, make it coherent, and I shall see if I can give you an answer. But yeah, thanks very much for watching guys, hopefully this has helped, and hopefully I shall see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching guys, take care.